if you're just sick of your household being really busy, just cook this and everybody will just go quiet. Right, brothers and sisters, welcome back to Food Busker. This week, an absolute banger, simple pulled pork to feed the whole family for the weekend. Let's get into it. And one of the reasons why I love doing pulled pork is it just actually makes your life so much easier, because I'm going to show you how to make tacos with this, but tomorrow, you know I'm going to be having a breakfast burrito with this. It's a little bit like what we do in professional kitchens, is we cook in batches and then we pull from that for the next 2 or 3 days. But why don't you do that at home? And that's what I'm going to do with this. These are Ancho chilies, the most common chili used in Mexico. It's fruity, it's earthy, and it's flipping delicious. I'm going to rehydrate them and then get them onto the pork. And because they've got a nice fruity vibe, then I'm going to use blood orange IPA to go with it. Some more citrus, so you've got this really fruity vibe that's going to penetrate into the meat of the pork. And then it's just going to be slow cooked, it's going to fall apart, you're going to give it the fork action, it's going to change your life. So first up, let's get the chilies done. So what's totally awesome now is that these are rehydrated. You can feel the lusciousness and the depth of flavour in there. It's just such a wonderful thing to do, to put onto meat. But look at the brew that's come out of it. So we're going to just add a little bit in to help blitz it, and then we're going to zip that down, marinate it over the pork. Best thing to do to get the best results is leave it overnight. Just look at the depth of flavour on there, like that is essentially a stock that you've created. The intensity of flavour in there is just like if you were to boil beef bones down for a couple of days. That's the level of depth that you've got in there, and that's what you're going to put onto your pork. You're welcome. Another little tip which is kind of important, and this is the same for all meat, but I'm cooking this pulled pork on the bone. It's got a little bit of the rib cage left in, and it's got the bone. Why? Well, it's the key way to lock moisture into your meat, and that's the same for a chicken all the way up to beef. If you cook it on the bone, then it's a more consistent cook because the bone heats up, but most importantly, it locks in the moisture, and that is just like the most important thing to do. Cook on the bone. Take 3 onions and roughly dice them. Fry them off until they're beginning to become translucent and glistening. A heaped tablespoon of allspice berries, grind them down so they're nice and fresh. Add that to the onions along with a cinnamon stick. Cook it all for about 5 minutes and then transfer it to the pan you're going to cook the pork in. Juice 4 limes. Add the pork and now 2 cans of a nice flavourful beer. Okay, this beauty's going in the oven at 140 for 6 hours until you can pull the pork apart. Make sure you keep the lid on so it keeps all the moisture in. Okay, the pork's in, so I'm going to make some tacos. Now, you could serve this up with tacos that you buy from the supermarket, but making tacos is really simple. But the flipping deliciousness that it delivers is ridiculous, right? Like just the sense of accomplishment, add that to the fact that they taste so banging and it's worth doing. So, 400 grams plain flour. You need a teaspoon of baking powder. Give it a little mixeroonie. Also, don't forget to put the salt in. You need just under a tablespoon. Get that thoroughly mixed in and then add 125 grams of lard. Now, when you're making taco dough, you need to make sure that you use beef dripping or lard as I am, or some sort of animal fat. You need that fatness to give all the suppleness to the tacos. If you use like olive oil, for example, then they just become too brittle. You need that fat. So you want to get it to almost like this sort of like crumb consistency. And now we're going to add 100 grams of warm water into the mix. Now what's important here is that you don't work the dough too much. You just wait till it all comes away from the bowl and then you stop, drop it in, and we're going to cling film it. And the reason that we do that is if you work it too much now, then you'll have overworked the dough, so you'll have to let it rest longer. But also when you come to roll them out, they contract and you won't get perfect, relaxed, soft, sexy tortillas. Garnishes. So we're talking about slices of avo, we're gonna have some jalapeno that is pickled, with some wedges of lime, and then some coriander. And keeping it all green because presentation-wise that will look banging. So I've just put some white wine vinegar in there. I've put some coriander seeds. I'm also going to put about half a teaspoon of fennel seeds in there. I'm going to just bring it up to the boil, turn it off, take it off, let that chill down, and then I'm going to get the sliced jalapenos in there. Once the dough's rested, we want to portion it into 10 balls. Roll them up nice and tight, put them on a dusted surface, and then cover them for 10 minutes to rest. Now you could make tacos with this taco press, but I want to have tacos that are about 10 inches to 12 inches, so I'm going to show you how to roll them out with a rolling pin. Take a ball and just sort of flatten it down into a disc, trying to keep it in a nice circle. The task here is to get the tortilla nice and thin, but also to make sure that it's round. A little bit of flour onto your rolling pin, and then the way you need to do it is just push it one way and twist. Roll it, twist by a quarter. What you want is you want it to be like this, really super thin. You can see your hands through the other side of it. That is like as wafer thin as I can get it without it tearing. Then just drop it onto a little bit of flour. Now it's time to cook them. When you're doing the tortillas, you're doing it on a super low heat, doing it really relaxed and gradual, 2 or 3 minutes on either side, just getting that charred element, and then you're sorted. Okay, so that's the tacos done, garnishes done, and now the pulled pork should be ready. Pork shoulder is a relatively cheap cut, you know. But what I'm also excited about is this is going to go into our tacos, but then it can go into so many more meals throughout the week. What a winner. So just look at that, it's just completely pulling apart. Right, I'm going to pull it, I'm going to put some of the cooking juices into it, and then I'm going to serve it up. Okay, right, let's get into it. Oh, it's so satisfying. And actually, it's not that much work. You can like prep it on a Wednesday, cook it on a Thursday while you're cracking on and getting other things done. And then you can feed the rest of the family for the whole weekend. Like, there's so much pork there. Now, I used 5 kilos of pork shoulder. Get a smaller one if there's just a couple of you. But like, some of that's going in the freezer, some of that's going in a breakfast burrito tomorrow, some of that's going in all manner of things for the next couple of days. You get that fruity zestiness that we put in with the lime, that we put in with the chilium, that we put in with that IPA, that beer. And it's just works so well together. All those sort of citrus notes with the depth of the meat, the slow cook that releases all the flavor. And then the the accompaniments, the sort of like instrumental section of the avocado, the coriander and the jalapeno all just being like or something like that. Like, I know pulled pork seems a little bit daunting, but it's really not. And what you get out of it is just like intergalactic planetary. That's it, brothers and sisters. Pulled pork done. Now you know the drill. If you're going to cook it, send me the pictures at John Quilter on Instagram. Increase the peace and spread the love.